Good evening. This is Kavipriya, Assistant Professor, EC Department, SNS College of Technology. Today I am going to deliver a topic, Council of Ministers, from the subject Essence of Indian Traditional Knowledge. So what is the role of Council of Ministers in the administration? That comes under this topic. So ministers or council of advisors are regulated or regarded by the ancient Indian political thinkers. They plays a vital role in the political body. They act as a vital organ of the body politic. Mahabharata observes at one place that king is vitally dependent on the ministers. As animals depends on the clouds, Brahmins on Vedas, and women upon their husbands. So like this, king depends on the ministers in the administration. Manusmriti points out that even a simple thing appears as a difficult if one person do the thing. But when a complex thing carried out by multiple people may appears very easier. The size of Mantri Parishad or Council of Ministers varied, and the authorities suggested figures ranges from 7 to 37. So there may be from 7 to 37 ministers in the particular regulation or rule of a king. It seems that the body was divided, the entire political body under a king was divided into two parts. They are Mantrina and Mantri Parishad. So Mantri Parishad was a large body resembling a modern council of ministers. It consists of all the ministers. Whereas a Mantrina, today's we call it as a cabinet ministers. The ministers which they hold the important portfolio comes under the cabinet of ministers. So this Mantrina is a smaller body or a core organization within the Mantri Parishad, largely resembling the modern cabinet. So Mantrina is a smaller body and Mantri Parishad is a larger body. So Mantrina consists of only of ministers which they hold their important portfolio. So Mantri Parishad is nothing but it is a larger body which contains a Mantrina. Mantrina plus other ministers comes under the Mantri Parishad. So this includes Mantrina includes very important ministers, that is important cabinet ministers what we call so now. So it includes important ministers like Prohita. Prohita is nothing but it is a priest, and Senapati is nothing but the commander of an army, and Yuvaraja. Yuvaraja is nothing but it is a crown prince, the entire territory Raja. So they all comes under the Mantrina. So they hold an important cabinet, important portfolios. R.C. Majumdar has compared the Mauryan Council of Ministers with Privy Council of Britain and viewed it as a political body which formulated the policies of government. In words of R.C. Majumdar, it is interesting to note how the executive machinery in the Indian constitution develops a parallel lines with that of the England. As a great national council of English gave rise to permanent council, which subsequently dwindled into Privy Council, out of which the king selected his confidential ministers and formed the cabinet. So the cabinet ministers are the ministers which are very close to the king. They are the confidential ministers. So the Samiti of Vedic period gave place to Mantri Parishad, out of which the king selected a few to form a close cabinet. So Mantri Parishad includes Mantrina and other ministers. So Mantrina is nothing but the ministers which are very close to the king. They will be occupying the important portfolios like finance and it may army and all. On the other hand, A.L. Basham maintains that the council was not a cabinet in the modern sense, but an advisory body with few corporate functions. The council purpose was to advise the king. They not to govern, but it was no mere rubber stamping body also. So the council of ministers want to give advice to the king. They won't be directly involved in the direct government. So the main role of the council of ministers was to give advice to the king, and king role is to accept the advices. So this role of ministers is not merely a rubber stamping body. They have to give a strong advice to the king based on analyzing the administration in the particular territory. For all authorities, stress that councillors should speak freely and openly, and that the king should give full consideration to their advice. So this council of ministers should be very open in their ideas, since king can't go and analyze the situation in the particular territory directly. He has appointed the council of ministers. So council of ministers role is to analyze the conditions of the people and have to give the correct report and advice to the king. So the king's role is to analyze those reports and the advice and have to consider if it is right. In fact, the council often exerted great powers. It might transact business in the king's absence, and the Ashokan inscriptions show that it might even take some minor decision without consulting him. So the role of ministers has a great power those days, and some the cabinet ministers may involved in the business transaction even in the absence of king, and they may even take minor decisions even in the absence of king. So that's all about the council of ministers. So the council of ministers role is to monitor the entire territory, and they have to give the advice based on the situation. They have to submit the report based on their situation, and the role of the king is to analyze the report and have to take action. So the king should be open-minded for accepting those advices given by the ministers. So that's role of ministers in the territory. Thank you.